Hi there, friends. I'm Vasco. I'm part of the team behind the first global Scrum Master Summit. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is a place to learn, to share, and to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from all over the globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit and the numeral 21. That's bit.ly/SMSUMMIT21. We have 7 amazing keynotes or more, as we are still organizing the conference as I record this, and 8 tracks that feature people like you and thought leaders sharing their insights and knowledge to help you become an awesome Scrum Master. So once again, check it out at bit.ly/SM Summit 21. That's all lowercase, all one word, SM Summit and the numeral 21. I'll see you on the virtual conference floor. All right, now on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Success Thursday this week with Susannah Chambers. Hi, Susannah. Welcome back.
Hey, Vasco. Nice to be here.
So let's talk success, but before, let's talk about one of the tools we use to try to reach that successful outcome for our work. Of course, I'm talking about the retrospective. So share with us, Susannah, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
Okay, so it's actually one that I designed myself, and I've put it out there in the public domain. It's actually a Spinal Tap themed retro. And the reason I love facilitating this retro is because it is a great humorous way to surface frustrations and stories and insights about very common anti-patterns that teams experience in a typical sprint.
How does that format play out? Like, how do you introduce it? How does the team get into the discussion, and what are typical outcomes?
Yeah, so in terms of the format, what I tend to do is I've chosen different clips of the film that I particularly feel show examples of anti-patterns. So I can give those examples in a moment. But I circulate the YouTube links to team members prior to the retrospective so that even those people that haven't seen the film before, they have the opportunity to see the videos. And that means that when they come to the retrospective, that they have got an idea of what the clips were around. So, for example, clips that I highlight are where they're telling the story, the band, Spinal Tap. For those of you that haven't seen the film, Spinal Tap is a group. It's kind of a rockumentary, and it's a bit of a spoof film. And so one example is where they're talking about how all of their drummers seem to mysteriously die. And there are increasingly random and bizarre explanations for how the drummers die in this band. So I equate that to, what bizarre patterns and explanations have we seen within the team during the sprint for things that we've observed? And then another example would be the classic sketch Stonehenge, where they're making a prop of Stonehenge to go on the stage for a show. And there's been a miscommunication in the design process for the scale of the prop. And so it ends up being absolutely tiny on the stage. So we use that as a vehicle in the team to talk about where, for example, has there been any kind of miscommunication about the value that we were being expected to deliver, or, the specification for a design, or, the acceptance criteria where perhaps they were not as clear as they could have been. So we talk about that. We talk about the example on the guitar amp where the classic phrase, "this one goes to 11."
Very famous phrase indeed.
Exactly. So, I encourage the team to celebrate their achievements and success in the previous sprint, in terms of, where did we as a team really take it to 11? Where did we go the extra mile? But also where in the next sprint, in terms of retro actions as well, where can we really ramp this up, and not just go to a 10, but go to an 11, and absolutely be amazing with it all. So they're three of about five or six examples from the film that I encourage people to kind of just reflect on and draw the comparison with the film. So, I've got a write up out there. I do that on a Google Jamboard, so that's out in the public domain. And in terms of the outcomes from that, what is really nice is, apart from the standard kind of learning that you would expect to get from a retro, you also actually get, because of the humour, because of people laughing, both those people that have known the film for many years, but also those that are new to it. It's a really nice thing because you get the humour, which relaxes people, which encourages people to treat it more like a psychologically safe space. But you also get that kind of sharing of experience because, for example, if people haven't seen the film, they will sometimes refer to other examples of films where they've seen examples like that. So, having that link in with popular culture through the retrospective format is a very powerful, nostalgic approach, I find.
Definitely humor, as you were saying, is one of the tools that we can use to help people relax and create a feeling of safety. So it's allowed to laugh at ourselves, as an example, instead of feeling that we're being blamed if something goes wrong. That's a great tip. All right, so now we turn our attention to the Scrum Master role and what success might mean for that role. So Susannah, share with us, what is, in your mind, success for the Scrum Master role?
My key guide is if I have to not work with a team anymore, whether they actually can carry on and sustain the good practice that they've put in place. So for me, if I serve a team and if circumstances mean that I'm no longer working with that team, I know I have been successful as a Scrum Master if, without me being there, for example, that they are checking in on a daily stand-up, and they're saying, how are we doing in relation to the sprint goal, without being prompted, are they making sure that they are honouring the ceremonies, that the ceremonies have the focus? So, for example, on the sprint review, even if I'm not there on the call, do they make sure that they're really striving to get that interaction and dialogue with the stakeholders, and that they're focusing on the value driven and not allowing the conversations to drift to output rather than outcome? All of those things that I would expect in terms of best practice that I would empower a team to do, I would know I've been successful if those things carry on when I'm not there.
Absolutely. So as Scrum Masters, of course, we want to set it up so that we succeed and therefore the teams also succeed. So share with us, what are some of the signs you look for, some of the hints that the teams are going to give throughout their journey that they might be getting ready to, as you say, carry on even if you're not there?
Yeah, so what I notice is when I'm on calls, for example, with higher performing teams, I just naturally start to notice more frequently that other team members are saying what I would have had going through my head. So, for example, if I'm taking the sprint goal example, okay, so in the daily stand-up, so if I was originally working with a team and I would be finding quite regularly, I would be needing to, at the end of the stand up, if nobody had mentioned the sprint goal, sort of just gently nudge and say, interested about how we're doing in relation to the sprint goal. How's it going? Just as a bit of a prompt. It's great when I actually am on a stand up and I think, nobody's mentioned the sprint goal. And then at that very second that I'm thinking of it, I suddenly hear somebody say, so how are we doing in relation to the sprint goal? So I then get that really good feeling that people are building that ability to sustain the good practice, because there's that mental attunement between what I would be saying to them and what I then see being modelled by other members of the team anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So two things that you said I wanted to highlight. First is that teams will model our behavior. So we need to be aware that whenever we are acting in the team, we are giving an example to the team members. So definitely ask that question as an example. How are we doing related to the sprint goal? But then also another thing, another tip that came to mind is that in order for teams to be able to take ownership, to start wanting to ask that question, to start wanting to organize themselves independently without us interfering, then we need to create that space, right? Like just as it were, standing back every now and then, and actually maybe every now and then in the daily meeting purposely say nothing and just listen to how the team members are acting, and if they are indeed starting to feel and act out the responsibility that they have over the final deliverable, right?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think as Scrum Masters as well, for us to be, kind to ourselves, that we are human too, and we're going to fail. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn in the way that we try to find ways to do that in the best interest of the teams.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you keep yourself empathetic towards your own necessary, because we do, so we fail?
Well, a key tool for me has been coming to the personal agility movement, which has just been absolutely wonderful for me as a professional and a personal tool. And what it does, you see, it combines agile principles, agile approaches with how you live your life, and how you make choices in life about what really matters. So, you mentioned it in the introduction at the start of the week, Vasco, but I am the UK's only accredited personal agility recognised ambassador, as accredited by the Personal Agility Institute. And the reason I found that such a great tool is one of the key concepts in the personal agility system is identifying, understanding, and owning what really matters. So as a Scrum Master, when I turn up and I'm engaging with teams and serving teams, yes, I am a servant leader, but equally I am a person and I have needs and I have things that motivate me too. So the personal agility system has been great for me to find ways of aligning and tuning in with that gut instinct to what matters to me as a Scrum Master to enable me to feel fulfilled and be cheerful, when I'm on calls, and motivational for people, but in a way that then has synergies with what I know is important to teams and what they're going after.
Absolutely. We'll definitely put the link on the show notes, so do send those to me so that we can drive people to understand, to learn more about that personal agility movement. Thank you very much for that, Susannah.
Pleasure. Thanks, Vasco.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.